Sorry, I'm eating like raw cookie dough right now, and I just really don't want to be judged for it, but that's just what I'm going to be eating like while I'm talking to you guys about this. I don't want to hear it's bad for you either. I don't want to hear it. It's not affecting my colon. It's just going to make me sick to my stomach. Welcome back to my channel. I know I'm in a totally different atmosphere than from when I usually am. I'm actually in my childhood bedroom. You guys have always requested story time about me dating a drug addict, so I am going to talk about that now because I feel like you guys have been waiting for so long and I feel so bad. Like I always wanted, film whatever you guys want to see, and I just feel super bad because this has been coming on forever that I've been talking about wanting to do this, and you guys have sent questions in and all that stuff. So that's what we're gonna do today. It's not gonna be a very good and like happy topic, but if it can help anyone else or any of you guys going through it, then it's worth it. Let's just start from the very beginning. Well, this is my ex-boyfriend. He is not from my hometown. He's someone that I met living somewhere else, and keep in mind, I have lived in Santa Barbara, LA for a very short period of time, Austria, Spain, and now New York City. So it's going to be hard for you guys to figure out who he is, and I want to keep it that way. I have asked him if I can talk about this. He said yes, but he doesn't want his name to be said. Let's call him Billy. How about that? We'll call him Billy. I met Billy. We were very young, and it was after high school. It was in college, but I don't know if I was 19 or 20. We met and we fell madly in love, as puppy love. He came from a very good family, very, very, very good family. You would have never known that he had this problem just by looking at his family and how much opportunity he had. He had a lot of anxiety, as do I. I'm on medication for anxiety. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. I take medication every single day and every single night, every single morning, every single night for anxiety. And that's how it started. Like, he was taking the same kind of pills, like they're cousins of each other, like the pills that I was taking, the pills that he was taking, but except his pills were much more harsher, stronger. And so I just kind of wrote it off as being like, oh, he's a bigger guy. And by the way, it's not my fiance Tyson, because he's a big guy, so don't think that either. Anyways, I really don't want you guys to like find out who he is. Yeah, he was just obviously, a bigger person than me. I'm 5'2", and I weigh 100 pounds. So anyways, I was like, oh, maybe that's why I have like the lower dose of, anxiety pills, and he has a really high dose. So I just wrote it off like that. But then I realized that he was taking it really, really often. That's when I kind of started to catch on to things. I just started to think that he had like a really addictive personality. If he liked something, he went crazy with it, like unhealthy, crazy with it. And that was just weird. And, he would fall asleep in random places, and he just was overall very odd. He's probably going to watch this, and I mean, if he disagrees with me on any of this, which he probably will, because honestly, he's not going to remember half of the things I'm talking about, but this is how I saw it from my point of view, and I refer to it as one of the worst times of my life. It's really hard to watch someone that you're in love with just deteriorate in front of your eyes and not listen to you. Like, I kept telling him, like, that I think he had a problem and all that, and maybe I said it in like a really mean way at the time. I would like yell it. I'm like, you're a drug addict or something, and he would just go nuts. The drugs started to affect his brain, and I know that the drugs got more and more like heavier, like he started with the anxiety pills, abusing them, taking them recreationally. I know then he started drinking on them. And then I've heard rumors in his town since we broke up about other very hard drugs that he's tried. So who knows if he was like on those while we were together. I have no idea. Whatever he was doing affected him. You know how when people are alcoholics and then say that they're sober for 25 years. They're still a little strange, and that's called wet brain, you know, where you can still tell that something, you know, they can't really pick up on social cues and all that. And not to offend anybody who has wet brain, but I'm just saying, I don't know what the term is for like the drug version, but that was definitely what was happening to him. He just really was very erratic. He came into my hometown for Thanksgiving, and we did Black Friday at Target, and he was just out of his mind, like just so out of control and screaming at people. And keep in mind, this is a very small town, so I was so embarrassed. He was screaming at people, and there was a TV that I wanted. There's one left, and he ripped it out of a lady's hands. And my little sister was with us, and she was like, I don't want to be with him. Like, I can't, like, I'm scared. Like, I'm scared of him. And it was just, you know, I was just trying to, like, I don't know. It was a nightmare. I remember, like, later that night, way later that night, like, after dinner, he said, like, there's something wrong with my brain. Like, there's something wrong with my brain and stuff. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. And just weird things like that. But he definitely had, like, the drug version of wet brain for sure. Everyone knew it. All my friends would tell me it. Everyone would. My teachers would tell me that. They knew him as well. And, you know, it was always like, be careful. So it got to be really, really bad. But the worst part of it is that one night I had a 3-hour class at night once a week. Well, I couldn't miss it. So I was with him all throughout the day, and I would ditch classes to, like, hang out with him and everything. But I still ended up graduating college. Everything's fine. I just had to go to this 3-hour class, and I told him I was just going to check in for a second and turn in my paper, say that I was sick, and then leave so that I could go be with him. And overall, it was going to take like a half hour. I left my house. I have my low dose of anxiety medication. It was on the kitchen table, and he was in the living room watching TV. I came back, and he was just unresponsive, like completely unresponsive. I freaked out. I was like, he's gonna die on me right in front of me. Oh my God. It was like, it's so hard to even explain details of it, because it's things that like demons in me that I try to cover so much. Like, I just want these memories to go away. Like, I just want to pretend like it never happened. And I hate to say this, but I want to pretend like I never met him, really, because it was so traumatic. Like, I still have nightmares about it. I've had terrible nightmares about it. I've had nightmares that I'm going to get married, and that, like, my dad and I are waiting to walk down the aisle, and everyone's, like, walked down the aisle, like, all my bridesmaids and flower girl and everything. And then, like, the doors open, and then he's standing at the altar, and I freak. Like, that's the nightmare. I'm like, no. Like, no. Like, I freak out, and that's just, like, a reoccurring nightmare that I have. The emotional toll that he put on me, I don't think he's ever really going to understand. But anyways, okay, let's go back. So he was unresponsive, laying on my couch. I noticed on the table that all my pills were gone. The bottle was empty. He had taken the entire bottle of my anti-anxiety medicine. And then I noticed that there was a bottle of alcohol on the counter. I think it was like a whole bottle of tequila. It was just gone, like completely empty. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I've been gone like a half hour. I don't understand how this guy, like, chugged this bottle, took all these pills. Like, you know, I mean, to me, that looks like a suicide attempt, but it wasn't. Like, I know it wasn't. So I freaked out. I ended up calling his family, and I didn't know them super well, but I let them know what was going on. I got a hold of them actually through Facebook, and then they gave me their phone number. And I told him, like, I have to take him to the emergency room, and he's, you know, very heavy. And when he's dead weight, because he's so out of it, I mean, oh my God, I've never picked up something heavier in my life. He was in a robe, and I literally just had to drag him. Like, it probably took me 20 minutes to get him into my car, which was maybe 10 feet away from my front door. And so I was just, like, dragging him. I, like, put him in there, buckle a seatbelt. I got into the driver's seat, and I just, like, beelined as fast as I could to the emergency room. Ran into the emergency room once we got there. I didn't even get him out of the car. Ran to the emergency room, like, just screaming. Told them what was going on. They just came out, you know, with the wheelchair, freaking out, grabbed him and all that stuff. By that time, he was responsive. He was, you know, aware that he was at the hospital. And then they took him into a room, you know, tried to do some reverse whatever they give you to like reverse the drugs that you're on. So I just told them, I'm like, I went to class, I came back, and there was an empty alcohol bottle and my pills were gone. Well, I didn't realize that it's literally a federal offense to take someone else's prescription. I didn't want to get him in trouble, but he ended up not getting in trouble for that. But they were like, that's a big thing, you know, that's a really big thing. You could press charges for that and like all this. And I didn't want to do that to him. Of course, I was just crying because I was so in love with him, and I just thought, like, holy shit, he's gonna die on me right now. So they took his blood and to see what was in him, and we're waiting for the blood results, and he didn't want me to be in the room. Like, he told the nurse, he was like, I don't want that bitch in the room. And I was sitting there crying, and she was like, her? Like, she couldn't believe that he was telling me that. And he went like this, like he kept going like this. And I was like, oh my God. So I like stepped out of the room, you know, and then there's a curtain. And I was like kind of peeking through the curtain just to like make sure that my boyfriend's okay. And he kept going like this, like so fiercely, like just like so mean. And the nurse came out and she was like, honey, you're being emotionally abused. Like, I'm going to give you some paperwork and pamphlets. Like, he's not a good person. Like, that's basically what she said. She probably shouldn't have said that, but she's like, girl, like, it's terrible how he's treating you. You got to get out of this relationship. I mean, you know, we weren't within earshot from him. We were like out and around the corner, and she was like, I mean, he's a terrible person. Like, I mean, look at how he's treating you. He's yelling, he's erratic, he's flipping you off. You're the one who saved his life. You're the one who brought him here. Were you guys in a fight before you went to school? Like, was there any reason that he would have just downed this bottle of alcohol or anything like that? I'm like, no, like, we were totally fine. We were totally fine. And she was just like, he has some issues that's gonna like be a lasting effect on him. Like, if he can kick it, it's gonna be a lasting effect on his brain. It is. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around it at that point. I just couldn't understand it. And then the results came back of his blood test. And so they told him, they wouldn't tell me exactly what was going on, but I said, what I know is alcohol, probably marijuana, and prescription pills of Xanax. And the doctor said, yes, yes, and yes. However, we found very hard narcotics also in his blood. So, yeah, they didn't tell me what it was. And I was just like, what? Like, where, what? Like, I don't know where he would have gotten that. Like, I've never been a drug person. Like, I've never really drank that much. I mean, I've never blacked out, you know. I'm just like, what? Like, I just couldn't understand what was going on. And at that point I was like scared of him, because he was still like, anytime he caught my eye, like with the curtain shut, he would just like that. I mean, it was scary. So I was just like, oh my God, am I going to take this kid home with me? Like, what am I going to do? They made sure that he detoxed or whatever. In the meantime, they gave me all these pamphlets and flyers about what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, whether it's physical or emotional or mental, and what you can do and all that. And I was like, I can't believe it's my life. Like, I can't believe that I'm getting like tips on how to get out of like a very, very toxic relationship. I'm not that old, you know, like, this is just way too much for me to deal with. I was just so distraught. So anyways, like, you know, hours later, now it's like the morning time. We went in there like, you know, at 8 o'clock at night or whatever. Now it's literally like 10 o'clock the next morning. I slept in like a chair. And by that time, he was okay to be released. Driving back home with him to my house, then he was super nice. Then he was like, I love you so much, you know, for you to do that for me, for you to save me. Like, I love you so much. It was just like it was like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, it was a completely different person, you know. And I was like, you were flipping me off. Like, you were saying like, fuck this bitch, like in front of nurses and doctors. Like, I have a million pamphlets right here basically telling me to leave you because you're completely abusive. Like, this is just insane, you know, like something needs to change. Anyways, we go home and I looked through his bag. Like I did. I mean, the nurse even said, she said, make sure he doesn't have any more drugs on him. Looked through his bag. I found this huge pill. I don't know what the hell it was. It was like a horse pill. I just went and flushed it down the toilet, and I thought that I was going to get the shit beat out of me at that point. Like, he saw me flush it down the toilet. He chased me into the bathroom not to. And keep in mind, he's already detoxed. He was like, I love you. Da, 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 da. It's like the day after he almost overdosed. And I flushed it down the toilet, and it was a wrestling match. Like, after that, it was like, I mean, pushing against walls. He pushed me a lot, but your girl's a pretty strong bitch, so don't you worry. Like, I can hold my own. I didn't get hurt or anything. He didn't, like, you know, punch me or deck me in the face, but yeah, he was completely crossing the line as far as putting his hands on me. And so I couldn't help but put my hands on him. I mean, you know, it was just like, what am I supposed to do? So it was a big brawl, and I don't know, then he ended up being like, I want to go home, you know, and I knew that he was sober at this point because he had just gotten out of detox, so I was like, sure. So we got in his car and home or whatever. And then over the week, we were talking on the phone and text and all that, and we like made up. And then he came back down to visit me, and then we were out on, it's called State Street, which is like where all the bars are and like restaurants and stuff. It's just like a fun place to be. And so we went out with our friends. Keep in mind, this is the weekend after he overdosed. We went out with some friends, and he just, I forget what it was. Oh, I went into a bar that my roommate worked at, and he couldn't get in because he was underage. And I was underage too, but my friend, like my bartending roommate, was like, I think I need like a spare key or something. So they let me in just to grab that. And my roommate was like, oh, like, I can slip you a shot, like my boss isn't looking, you know. And I was just like, no, I'm fine, whatever. So I come back out, and then I had told Billy, I was like, oh, he just tried to like slip me a shot, but I didn't take it. And Billy flipped out, just screamed. And that was one of the things too of how you know that someone's not well, is that no matter where we were, whether it was a restaurant, whether our parents were there, my parents, my sister, my freaking grandparents, it could have been anyone. He did not care. When he saw red, he saw fucking red. He saw red, and he would just flip his shit. Flip it. Like, I mean, scream, like as if I was this terrible person, you know. People would look, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we've been in public where people are looking at me like that poor girl, like giving me this weird look because I'm just like a puppy with my tail between my legs. When he's screaming, you know, I'm not gonna go after him, you know, get in a brawl with him. He's screaming at me in the middle of an airport or like just anywhere. So he started screaming on State Street, screaming so hard that police officers came over to ask me if I was okay. I didn't want him to get in trouble because I was in love with him. So I was like, no, everything's fine. And then, yeah, I don't know, for some reason, whatever, I just didn't have a backbone back then, I guess. And so, we got over that screaming match of, I don't know. And then, that night we went home, we slept in my bed, and he woke up probably at like 2 a.m, and he was almost crying. And he was like, my skin is like coming off. Like, he was scratching himself so much that his skin was like almost bleeding, that he was scratching so hard. He just scratch his whole, like, I turned on the light, he was completely red, like his skin. And I was just like, oh my God, you know, like, what are you? Oh my God, I have aloe vera, like I have lotion. I like, oh my God, I was freaking out. I was like, do you want to go to the hospital? Like, what's going on? You're bleeding. Like, you're scratching yourself so hard that you're bleeding. And he was just like, no. I just like, he was just freaking out. And he seemed really like sick, like as if he was in a panic that he was sick. And it was just this weird thing. And I was like, maybe it's my laundry detergent, like for my sheets, because back then I was super poor because I was newly in college. And so I would buy the like 99-cent, $1.99 laundry detergent anyways, and it was super cheap. So I was like, maybe he's having a reaction to it. Like, you know, and I said that, I was like, I can take the sheets off. Like, I stripped the bed, took the sheets off. We were just, so we could just lay on the mattress. and he still just could not go to bed, and he was just whimpering and just like, like freaking out. And I was just like, oh my God, you know. And then the next morning, finally he went to sleep. The next morning, he just like didn't know what it was and all this stuff, but he just looked like hell. He looked like he had hives everywhere. It was just this crazy, crazy shit. And then he ended up going home again because then the weekend was over. And so he went back home 4 hours away, and I tried everything. I like went and actually spent my money on like Tide, which was expensive. Yeah, like Downy and all that stuff. I was trying to like switch detergents so that he wouldn't feel like that. And then I realized, I'm like, Stacey, he slept in your bed probably nearly 100 times with the same cheap ass detergent, and he's never been like that. So he had to have been having some kind of reaction to something. And then my stupid self, I thought it was food and all that. But I came to find out that, and I've experienced it myself just with colitis being in the hospital, when you're coming off of a narcotic, which I don't do illegal narcotics. I'm talking about me in the hospital doing narcotics, like through my IV from a doctor. But for him, when you're coming off a narcotic, also like, you know, he was doing it from the street, obviously, you itch. Like, that's just how, you know, I mean, that you're just coming down from it, so you're itching. And so it took me a while to figure that out, that that was what was going on. And so I just got, I don't know, this whole thing makes me so angry. You know, that there are things in your life where you're like, oh, I'm so, you know, that part of my life sucked, but it brought me to who I am as a person now. And like, I'm glad I went through it looking back now. No, I don't feel like that at all. I feel like if I had never met him and I had never experienced that, I don't feel like it would have changed me at all. I feel like, if anything, I just wouldn't be having nightmares right now. You know, I don't think it was a lesson learned or anything like that. It was just scary. And sometimes I'll watch things like Teen Mom or like, I don't know, things on TV where I can tell immediately if someone's doing pills and drinking. Like, I can tell immediately if someone's on drugs. And I guess that's the best thing that I got out of it. But yeah, I could tell that immediately. And so then from there, our relationship was just so tumultuous. And I would try to tell him all the time, like, you're a fucking drug addict. Like, at that point, I had no respect for him. And he would just scream. Like I said, he didn't care. He had no filter. We could be in a church with priests and like bishops and stuff, and he'd be like, fuck you, bitch, you know, like, so just for telling him the truth that he was a fucking drug addict. Anyways, so yeah, we broke up, and that was why. And years later, probably like 4 years later, he ended up finding me on social media, like on Instagram. Instagram didn't exist when we were dating. He ended up finding me on Instagram, and he wrote me a message, and he said, I would just like you to know that you were right. You were right the whole time. And I kicked it by myself, which I have a very hard time believing, but he kicked it by himself. And if he did, that's great. But yeah, I mean, now this is years later, of course, almost 10 years later. And now I asked him if I could make a video about it. He said yes, but he didn't want his name to be mentioned, of course. And his brain is still affected by it. I'm sorry. I know he's watching this, but I'm sorry. But his brain is, I mean, I don't know what the term is, but it's a wet brain, you know, like from alcohol, but it's the drug version. Yeah, he still just isn't all the way there. You know, he's just really not. I mean, like, I can show you some text messages of like, I asked him like, can I talk about this or da-da-da-da, and he was just like, yeah, of course, if it's going to help someone, you know. And then he literally messaged me, and he said, then he went crazy. Then all of a sudden he switched, and he was like, I hope you're doing this for inspiration and to not just be talking shit about me. And I'm like, I just told you that I wasn't going to be doing that. Like, I told you that it was to help people out. And then you responded again and was like, don't forget to mention that I was able to kick it by myself, and now I own my own business, which he does own his own business in the marijuana industry. So, I mean, take that as You like, so then he was like, you blow my mind. I could just fucking scream right now. I don't know why you get under my skin so much. I mean, to me, like, obviously your brain just, I don't know, like, why are you screaming at me? Like, I have nothing to do with you anymore, you know? Anyways, that's the story. That's why we broke up. It's a horrible time in my life. I have that reoccurring nightmare and I really want it to go away. But yeah, I have that reoccurring nightmare that, yeah, I don't know, that the wedding's happening, my wedding's happening, and Billy is at the altar, and I'm like, wait, no, like freaking out and crying and screaming, and oh my God, just knowing I'm gonna have a life of fucking hell. And yeah, so he's had a girlfriend since me, and they've been engaged, and it's, before I've wanted to reach out to her and just be like, how do you do it? Like, I give you credit. I give you a lot of credit. But I never have reached out to her. I would never do that to him because, I mean, I still do have respect for him in a regard, you know, as a human. You guys have questions. One of them is, how did you find out? I get his behavior, I guess, his brain. I knew that he was taking pills recreationally, but I was taking the same ones, but I wasn't taking them recreationally. So yeah, I just think that his behavior, his anger, it was mainly his anger. And then that's pretty much how I knew. How'd you feel about it? I felt terrible about it. I didn't know what to do. I've never been the kind of person that's like, oh, I'm going to save this guy. We're going to be in love and we're going to get married and everything's going to be fine. I've never been the person to think that I could save someone ever. I don't know why I stuck around. I think just I was more so worried about him dying. But other than that, no, I don't think I can change. I mean, he's going to have to, like, the first step is admitting it, you know, out of the 12 steps. And so, yeah, I mean, I would tell him, like, you're a drug addict, but, yeah, there was, I don't know, I didn't feel very good about it, but I did stay just to, make sure that he was okay, but I never planned on changing him because I knew that he had to do that on his own. Did he get you to try? No. Not at all. He tried to keep a secret from me. Yeah, he was very, very sly about it. Very sly about it. He would go to the bathroom for long periods of time, come out a completely different person. And I'm talking like long periods of time, not like, oh, he's going to the bathroom, you know, like, he would go away for long, long periods of time and, come out just like, you know, scratching his neck and just, you know, just a weirdo. So yeah. How long did you date before you knew? It was probably 6 months into it. He'd been doing pills the whole time. Like I said, I just justified it because I had anxiety too. So who am I to judge, you know? So yeah, I would say 6 months into it was really when, yeah, I don't know. So that's when it happened. I do still keep in contact with him, I guess, if, you know, once in a while he'll message me about something or... Yeah, but we don't talk on a daily basis. I don't really care to. I think that he goes from 0 to 60 like that. I mean, I just told you that he said, like, you make me want to scream. You get under my skin. And all I did was say, like, is it okay if I make a video about this? And he said, yeah. And then the next day, or he's like, yeah, if it's going to help people. And then the next day, he told me that I make him crazy and he wants to scream and I get under his skin. So... it's just from one second to the next. It's just like literally a roller coaster of emotions. I don't know. I mean, he says he's kicked it and that's great. And I don't know how you reverse wet brain. I don't know if you can, but yeah, so that's what happened. And, yeah, I don't know. I wish, honestly, like I don't have many regrets in my life. I don't have any regrets in my life, really. But I really wish that I either had never really met him or I wish that I hadn't stuck around at all. Yeah, but I just didn't want him to die. So that was it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope it wasn't boring and I hope it helped you if you're going through something like this. I tried not to mention the hard narcotics that he was doing, even though, I know which ones they were, cause I don't really want to out him because I don't have full proof. But I've been told, and I was told by the doctor, so I guess that is full proof, but I'm still just not going to say it. I'm sure just use your imagination. you guys can always reach out to me if you guys have had this problem. Even if you're still with the person, I can help you, because now I'm like out of it. I've stepped back from it. You know, before I was in the relationship, I couldn't really see what was going on because I was, you know, I was in it. But now that I'm out of it, I could see what was happening. So yeah, if you guys have any problems like this, you can always reach out to me and I will help you any way you can. Or if you just need someone to talk to, like whatever. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for your patience too on this video. I know I said I've been going to film it for like a month and I haven't. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you and I will see you in my next video. Bye.